You don't build an empire off a 1.4% cut of a 15-cent hamburger. You build an empire by owning the land upon which that hamburger is cooked. That quote is from the biopic The Founder. The Founder is a movie that tells the story of how Ray Kroc made a success of the McDonald's franchise, solving their financial problems by going into the real estate business. That single piece of financial advice was the turning point. That single piece of financial advice is the reason why you, me, and several other people around the world know McDonald's today. Now, some real estate enthusiasts have taken that story and run with it, trying to convince everyone to get into the real estate business. They say things like, you need more customers for your business, buy land. You need to pay your children's school fees, just buy land. You have a headache, just take 2 doses of Landaquin. Just kidding. Now, while real estate land is a great investment and is a solution to challenges certain people might be facing, for me, it's the principles inherent in the Ray Kroc story and not necessarily the specifics that I think we can pay attention to. And the principle that I get from that story is that the solution to that very difficult challenge you may be facing is closer than you think. In fact, you may be standing right on it. Because here's what happened. Ray Kroc had financial troubles and had been running across, had been standing on the solution to that challenge and never realized it until someone opened his eyes to the facts. Now, what that simply tells us is that that thing we need to start, that thing that we need to go after that goal, that we need to take our lives to a whole new level and to become a pleasant surprise to ourselves and to all those around us, is closer than we think. It's not far away, it's closer than we think. That our diamonds are not in far distant mountains or in yonder seas. Our diamonds are right there in our own backyard if we but dig for them. So we need to start where we are and what we are and realize that true greatness is often unrecognized, as Russell Conwell says. Now note, he didn't say true greatness is unavailable. He said true greatness is often unrecognized. So it's that ability to see those things around us for what they truly are. It's like how that popular adage that says, what you are looking for in Sokoto, which is a far northern state in Nigeria, is right there in your shokoto, which is Yoruba for trousers. It just simply means that that thing that you are searching for somewhere else is right there beside you. And for me, this was a very huge lesson that I learned while preparing for the 2020 Lagos City Marathon. After registering for the marathon, the next thing was for me to get my running gear. So I head to the market and start combing the stalls for tights, running shoes, tops, and shorts. Eventually, I didn't get any tights that I would feel comfortable running in, and the shoes I got, which were a little pricey, I eventually get to discover that they are too heavy for running long distances. Until, what do you know, I discovered I had these awesome tights that fit perfectly at home that I had gotten over a year ago. And these light and super comfortable shoes that I also gotten a while back. For me, this was a very huge and important lesson, that these very same things that I spent hours searching for in the market just so I could get something quality that fit perfectly and for a good deal were right there sitting in my house. Just simply tells us that that thing that you need to start to go after that goal is closer than you think if only you would take a second look. And for me, that's just what it is. But one thing I've come to realize is that the reason why we procrastinate, the reason why we don't take those steps that will move our lives to a whole new level, is because we are just so focused on those things that we lack, those things that we don't have, instead of focusing on the things that we do have. And here is the thing, whatever you give attention to grows. So the more you focus on what you don't have, on what you lack. I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the connections, I don't have the location. That's eventually what you are going to keep seeing until eventually you just throw in the towel. We are just so focused on what we don't have that we lose sight of the things that we do have, and we actually do have some things. I read recently of how when America began launching astronauts into space, they were faced with the challenge of using pens in space because of the absence of gravity. Now, a decade and $12 million later, they solved this problem, they solved this challenge by coming up with this beautiful, unique pen that you can use anywhere. However, when the Russians were faced with the same challenge, they solved the problem by simply using pencils in space. Now, what happened? While the Russians realized they didn't have the luxury of time and money that the Americans had, they recognized the one thing that they did have: pencils. And those pencils ended up being the solution to that particular challenge that they were facing. To live a life of no excuses, to break barriers, to crush those goals, to exceed limits, to become those high performers that God has created us to be, and do the creative best that we can with our lives, it's helpful to remember, like Steve Harris says, it's not what you don't have that limits you, it's what you have but don't know how to use. The lack of a silver spoon may have set us on a certain path, but we needn't stay on it. If we are ready to adapt and learn, we can transform. And let us simply use what we have. What we don't use, we eventually end up losing. The only lame superpower is the power that we don't use. And to realize that no matter how insignificant and how lame that your superpower may seem, there is someone you can save, starting with you.